I remember recognizing that there was something really special going on with John when I was first taking a seminar with him. It was the Energy Body Seminar. And I was with a group of other students meeting in his office, maybe 8 of us. And we were focusing on one chakra, one part of the energy body, each section. And I forget which one. This might have been the heart chakra. And what he would do, he would lead us in a meditation, and you'd visualize and tune into that part of the body. And then at a certain point, he would say, okay, now draw what you saw or what you felt, just to kind of impressionistically try to anchor that experience. And when he led me and led us into that meditation, I had such a profound opening of the heart that I just went into a very deep, very open-hearted, spacious place. And I could hear him give the instruction at a certain point to the group, okay, now open your eyes, pull out your pad of paper and draw what you got. But what was happening for me was so exquisite and so deep, I didn't actually want to move out of that. And yet I knew that the authority was going to ask that of me, and I needed to submit to that. That was part of my relationship to authority, actually, was like, oh, I just have to do what they say, but abandon my experience. And right as I was contemplating, oh, I'm gonna have to move out of this space, I heard him say, and if you'd like to stay in this space, just give yourself full permission to stay in it. And I can't tell you the waves of gratitude and emotion that swept through my whole system as I heard that. Because now no longer was I just given permission to stay with this experience that was quite exquisite. There was an attunement I felt in this silent, wordless place of, oh, he's sensing there's something really significant here. And he's prioritizing me trusting my own experience and staying with it. And so there was a permission he was giving me to really give myself, to stay with my experience. And I just started to have tears just drop down because there was an exquisite attunement that was here. And also I probably couldn't have articulated it at the time, but my whole relationship to authority actually started to shift, where I recognized that, oh, there's an attuned kind of authority that can actually help me deepen into my own experience and actually trust my own authority. So that was a moment that was really quite powerful for me.
At least part of our conversation today is that you've been kind of orienting now to your kind of more active parenting roles, lessons, at least space.
Yeah.
For something else.
That's
to
for
emerge.
sure. Yeah.
And yeah, it'd be interesting to talk about that process for you, what's emergent, and particularly around teaching.
I was just talking to Karen about this yesterday, actually, and I could just feel this teacher part coming out more spontaneously. I notice it, with my work with my clients, but in my groups, just more a natural teaching function that happens. And then it's happening spontaneously at night. I'm waking up and I'm composing trainings and articulating things without trying to.
It's a kind of a welling up of that function, if you will.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So that's happening more and more so just in the last week or so. I've noticed that. I've gotten up in the middle of the night and, I'm composing a kind of a articulation of something that I'm going to be training at my next group. You've modeled something that I'm extending to others as well, like my supervisees or mentees. We have a friendship and we're very personally involved, and yet I'm noticing that all the other functions of supervising or teaching or seem to just happen quite spontaneously. And I'm getting the same feedback that it's something that they're really cherishing in the same way I've cherished it, that they can know me personally and I can know them personally, and yet these other roles seem to function at the same time. I had multiple experiences in supervision with John and in mentoring context where I could feel his attunement was so not just conceptual, but emotional and energetic, where he was sensing what was happening with me and able to use his own sensitivity to enhance my own experience. And what I started to recognize over time was that I have that same sensitivity. It was almost like a tuning fork. And in his attunement, I started to recognize that, oh, this is possible between two beings or multiple beings, that we can actually resonate and attune to each other. And so for me, with my work, I started to trust that capacity, and now routinely and able to attune to people in the way I've just described, that I felt him attuning to me. And then that kind of attunement and invitation for people to stay with their own experience just deepens and really facilitates just an incredible unfoldment and healing process. So it happens routinely now, but at the beginning it was quite profound that that was even possible. I didn't quite recognize how possible that was.
We know how much power comes in with the role of being a therapist, how intimate that is, and it's like a whole nother level of intimacy, because you're really dealing with what's essential. You're getting to the core of one's being, you know, and so the delicacy of that is even greater. And I just felt like a hesitancy to enter into that field until there was really a deep trust here in myself that I would not abuse that.
Yes.
Because this abuse is so rife on various levels, gross and subtle.
We see it all around us. So many teachers, often men, have been so abusive of this incredible power they have and the vulnerability of their students.
This is where vulnerability, this is where honesty are so important. This is where the dedication to truth is central in this approach, isn't it? This willingness to not just be comfortable, you know, but to turn toward, keep turning toward that which is not so comfortable and challenging.
And it's interesting, just even when you say dedication to truth, I think people have different conceptions of what truth is. There's a typical kind of big T truth that people think, oh, this sort of truth of this is sort of essential nature, of the transcendent quality. But I think about like all the different layers of truth, you know, including what you might call a small T truth, or I don't even think about it that way, as more the aliveness of the moment, which is to come back to that inquiry we were talking about, like what's not wanting to be experienced right now? What is it relationally, or what is it somatically, or what is it emotionally? That's my small T truth in this moment. Like that's actually part of the truth.
This is an expression of the big T truth, right? And so we come back to discovering the body not as an obstacle, but as an extraordinary manifestation or expression.
It's like if we were looking at these waves, these beautiful waves.
And each wave is unique, a little bit different, and in that uniqueness, there's something miraculous and something very creative in that expression. And I think this is such an important element of this teaching, is the valuing of creativity.
That's right. And it's true, the waves are transient. They only just arise and fall in a blink of an eye. But that doesn't make them any less real, actually, in a sense. In some ways, there's a preciousness to that kind of momentary appearance.
This is really a critical point, no less real, you know, because many of the contemplative traditions will say it is less real.
That's right.
Or it's not real at all. You know, it is just an appearance on a screen, you know, and what's important is the screen.
That's right.
Not the appearance on the screen, you know, and there is a teaching value in that, pointing to what's behind, to the background. But if we lose the foreground, we lose our humanity. We lose the intimacy of our relationship with, and we lose I think we lose our aliveness.
I thought that's so true for me. I think that's where the aliveness is. Yeah. One of the things that happened when I met John in 1997 was I met my now wife, Karen, almost the same month, actually. beginning of our relationship was quite tumultuous, and I was struggling with a lot of my own ambivalence and early attachment wounds and patterning. So when I was working with John in my confusion, he just held this open space of not knowing and allowed me to just stay for quite a while. Actually, it was a bit excruciating in the not knowing. But what I got in many different ways was there is a knowing. Just stay with your experience. Just inquire into your beliefs, into your feelings, into your body, and the truth will emerge. And sure enough, over time of just staying in that inquiry, what emerged was a deep knowing, a deep intuition that this is my life partner. And I was able to step into that. And that's one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, really, was to marry my wife, because we have a beautiful relationship and a beautiful family. And so there was a way that trust in my own ability to know and to hang out in not knowing was quite profound for me. And that's also another thing that I feel I can transmit now. I really can hold people in that similar kind of way, because I know how instrumental that was for me.
I know when I was first starting to teach, I would feel a little anxious because I would want to know what it was I was going to do. And, the mind wants to prepare something, and it would just go blank. I would, I could make a few notes or something, but it's like there would just be this silence. The mind had to learn to trust the silence, that it wasn't a complete blank, that there was something in this emptiness that was very alive and vibrant and trustworthy in the moment, and that it would come through, without having to plan or prepare and you're experiencing the same thing. I know we've been talking about that in your teaching as well.
Yeah, very much so. It's been helpful to watch you ahead of me on the path, going through it and describing it and witnessing it. Like, oh, okay, that's quite possible. And then as I'm going through it, like, oh, this is what John was talking about. Like, oh yeah, it's the same process. Yeah. And what'll happen now when I know I'm going to be leading a group or doing something the next day is I don't prepare. I tend to wake up in the middle of the night or wake up in the morning and something will just prepare itself.
Yeah.
And I trust that, but I also actually have gotten to the point now where I'm like, okay, well, I might end up talking about that. And I'm also prepared to let that go too. So I let the mind prepare, because the mind seems to want to do it.
Exactly.
So okay, if you need to do that, I'll let you do that. But I'll see what actually happens.
Coming back to this theme of aliveness, it feels alive here. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And if that's aliveness has a way of being communicated in a very natural and spontaneous way, in an uncontrived way.
And somehow that feels like it could only happen in that way, in that fully alive way, because it's coming from the moment, which is actually in touch with the field that we're all in that moment. And you can't know the morning of or the night before or a week before. You can't speak to that moment except from the moment,
Yeah, this is a beautiful point. And, it's true in teaching, it's true in life, isn't it?
Yeah.
As the mind tries to foresee, and sometimes does to some degree, but the reality of the moment is always different than what we imagine it to be. The reality of this moment, we could not conceive of this precisely. This meeting, this conversation, this moment, we don't actually know what the next, offering or thought will be. But rather than being anxious about it, right, there's a kind of delight.
Right.
And
this discovery.
And discovery then. And a discovery. We're not on the beaten path of the known, of the conceptual path.
Right.
Right. The concepts can come in as, as a skillful pointer or expression, but it's where they come from. That's really feels like what's most important.
Yeah, that's right. And for me, what I'm noticing, because I'm teaching in these sort of smaller group contexts, I'm listening, not with my mind so much, but there's an attunement to the field and to where people are. And that's what I'm noticing is the most alive. It's like, oh, I had no idea this is what I was going to talk about. And yet this is the most obvious thing to talk about. And if I talked about what I'd written in my notes the night before or the morning of, it would kind of miss the moment. It would be misattuned in a very subtle way, not in an obvious way. But and that's what that's part of the delight. It's like, oh, it's like jazz or symphony. It's like it's in relationship. When I first met you, took your class for the first time, oh, this is the reason I came to San Francisco, to CIIS. This person is embodying and has a very practical and deep understanding and expression of how to integrate psychological work with the depth of being spiritually. And that was just obvious to me and apparent. And so I couldn't get enough of that. And I took your classes and took your seminars and your supervisee. So that was just truly transformative in terms of how I work. It's informed everything that I do with my client work. But what I didn't really count on, that I'm so grateful for, was that, oh, this isn't actually a technique of healing. It's really a way of being and a way of living. And for me, that started to express itself with my client work and was so profound in terms of the depth of the work, the ease of the work. And it's full circle now, as you know, I'm teaching and training other therapists, which is such a joy. But it's really actually translated into every aspect of my life, because there's a way that this deepest essential nature of what we are, it's not separate from all the human relationships and roles and responsibilities, and I love bringing it into and expressing it in all of my relationships. So yeah, I can just feel a tremendous gratitude, just because it's just changed my life, really, John. You've changed my life that way.
Well, and I've been correspondingly grateful for our friendship and this deep sharing that we have together. So it goes both ways.
Yeah, I feel that mutual resonance. So beautiful thing. It's a deep kind of a mutual gratitude. I know we often will sit with it wordlessly and sometimes with words.
And sometimes with tears.